And these are people who claim to be spiritual, mind you. That's why it's hard to recognize if we're not really paying attention. These are people who will shout to the mountaintops that they believe in God. And they do. But they put him into a box. And if they don't like what he says, they ignore it, or they change it, or they just go and find somebody else by which to judge themselves. And if you ever find yourself thinking like that, then you're living like God is only a concept to you. You are shaping God instead of being shaped by him. Now, you know how most churchgoers hear what I said, especially those who've been in the church for many, many years. Hear what I said? Get 'em, pastor. You tell 'em. Tell those people to wise up. Okay, I will. Wise up. And make no mistake, I don't have a problem at all if when you're shaking my hand on the way out today, you tell me to do the same exact thing. It won't hurt my feelings at all. Because in one way or another, I've just described every person who will gather here this weekend. We are covered in sin and in our own self-righteousness. And we live by this deadly mantra of because I say so. And when it comes to spreading the Christian faith, we see it all the time. It is so easy to say, "Here am I, Lord. Send them. Send them. Because I'm the one who's really busy." You see, when we are most useless to God is when we start to get comfortable and think that we're just okay and that we're self-sufficient. It can be so hard for us to say, as Isaiah said, "Woe to me, I'm ruined. For I have unclean lips, and I live amongst a people of unclean lips." Now, I hope we can say that today. Not because I want anyone here to be miserable or down in the dumps, because it is only when we see that truth about ourselves, and make no mistake, it is only then that we can be cleansed. Because if we don't see God for who he really is, and if we don't see ourselves for who we really are, then we will never have a firm understanding of what we really need in our lives, and our God tell us we need a Savior. And we need to be transformed. You know, kind of as an aside, that's why I get kind of nervous with a trend going on with how we talk when we have young people or visitors come into the church. I call it the "at least they're here" statement. Now, don't misunderstand me for a second. Put in its proper context, "at least they're here" is a wonderful thing. If you are new to the church or visiting us today, I am overjoyed that you're here. Young people who are here, I love it that you're here and that you're growing in your faith. But I want you to be careful with that too. Because behind that statement is a focus on getting people to be comfortable and to like a church rather than with sharing the power of God, the gospel, to change their lives or even to change the things that they like. See, liking church, of course, is a good thing. I pray that you do. But liking the church and having a real, living, active faith in Jesus Christ can be two entirely different things. And it's that faith that's going to see you through when you don't always like something that the church does. You can like a church and still never learn a thing about God and never see your true self or his true love for you. And so let me tell you what he is really, really like. He sees Isaiah literally shaken by his fears and his insecurities and his guilt and his shame. And he saves him. Isaiah records how it happened. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a burning coal that he had taken with tongs from the altar. And he touched my mouth and said, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." The filth of Isaiah's sin was cleansed by God, taken away by God. God's grace came and changed who Isaiah was without Isaiah ever doing a thing. And this was a mere foreshadowing of how God comes to us today to change us. The holy God, he got off his throne and he came into this unholy world to dwell in a smelly stable amidst unclean animals and people. And this holy child grew into a man who never once sinned. He should have covered his own eyes and wept because of what he saw in us. He could have turned a blind eye to our condition, but he endured so that today we could have eyes that become open to gaze upon his glory. Jesus Christ, the Holy of Holies, went to the cross and became unholy, mired in our sin, dying for us all. Those temple walls that shook when Isaiah caught the vision of God, they shook again when Jesus died, so that in our lives we could become unshakable. You know, every time we've ever shared a word of slander or gossip, it was on that cross. Because of our unclean lips, Jesus himself cried out, "Woe to me, I am ruined." Our misplaced priorities were on that cross, driving nail holes into the hands and feet of Jesus. His body became broken on that cross so that broken lives and relationships could have the power to be put back together. Now, here's something that I'm finding a lot more and more. It's entering in to this holy place, and it's something that people don't want to hear much about, but